Alright, I want to just get into a couple of different ways you can control this. So we saw in the last video how if you just take something and drag it on top of another drawing, deselect it, and then take it off, it cuts this piece up. So if I don't want that to work that way, there are a couple things I can do. The simplest one is just to select this object here and convert it into a group. Modify group, Command G. And now every time I select it, it no longer gets the dots on it, and it just gives us the blue bounding box rectangle. So if I take this now and drag this on top of it, deselect it, and drag it off, it no longer interacts with whatever it lands on top of. It no longer cuts anything out. And same thing if I drag something else on top of it. And in fact, if I take one of these non-grouped things and try to drag it on top, it always stays behind. That's because Flash has an internal layer system, so that we have the layers down here, but each layer also has its own invisible layers. So it just assigns anything that's grouped is on top of anything that's not grouped. So if I take this and drag it here, like we said, because these are both not grouped, and then deselect, we now just have this one big giant shape. But if I group this, modify group, we get the bounding box rectangle and no more combining. And if you put two groups on top of each other, they also don't combine. Now, I mentioned the invisible layer system, so check this out. So this red group was made first, so it'll be underneath. Each group that you make goes on top of the stack. But what if you don't want that? All you have to do is go to Modify, Arrange, Bring to Front, or Send to Back. And what do we have? We have the purple, so we'll say Modify, Arrange, Send to Back. And now the red shape is on top of that. So if I want to bring the purple shape back on top, I could then say Modify, Arrange, Bring to Front. Now let's complicate this just a little bit more. I'll group this. So now I have three groups, and so they no longer interact with each other. And because this was the third one, it's on top of everything else. So if I want to change that order, if I wanted to have this green thing be on top of the red but behind the purple, I could just say Modify, Arrange. Instead of saying Send to Back, I could say Send Backwards, and that'll just send it down one level. So now the purple is still in front, but the green is still in front of the red. If I want to bring the red in front of the green but keep it behind the purple, I could do the same thing, Modify, Arrange, Bring Forward. And now it's on top of the purple, on top of the green, but behind the purple. And if I want to bring it all the way, Modify, Arrange, Bring to Front. And now it's on top of both. So you'll notice that groups, anything that's been grouped can no longer be erased. So I'm using my eraser tool, but nothing's happening once I let go. So if I want to go back and edit a group, I need to go and double click on it. And actually, before I do that, I've got the group selected. And notice that we're in this, if you look up here, it says Scene 1. That means you're in the highest level of your scene. And if I double click on an object, it says, oh, you're in group editing mode. The rest of the objects are grayed out, and now I can edit just this by itself. So if I go back in and erase into that shape, and then I double click anywhere outside of the objects in the group, I'm back to my scene 1. So the group thing went away. And now I've got this object that is still, I can no longer edit it unless I double click it. Aha, group mode. Edit all you want. You know, I can change the color of it. Oh, that's interesting because I had these pieces that I had cut off from it, so I didn't get them selected. So if I wanted to, I could just click and drag to select everything. Anyway, so that's how groups work. And you can also group multiple objects together. So I'll use my lasso tool up here, L. Oops, well, I grabbed all three of them, that's fine. So I have three groups, and I hit Command G to group them together. And now I have one big group. Now this can start to get crazy. This is called nesting, because I've got three groups, and this is one big group. So I can take this, double click on it, and this lets me arrange these. So I'm kind of changing and I can use my modify, arrange, you know, bring to front, kind of arrange this stuff the way that I want it. Double click outside, and now I'm back in scene 1. And so now I've changed the structure of my group. So now watch this. If I double click this to edit this group again, I can go another layer in. So I'm in group mode, but if I go double click on this red thing, now I'm in the group within the group that's within the scene. So I could change, I could add something to that. Double click, I'm back in the group, so I could arrange this within the group. Go back to the scene, and now I'm arranging that group in the scene. So grouping is a very cool thing to be able to do. Oh yeah, one last thing. You can also ungroup something. So if I say, I don't need this group of all these things, I can go just go up here with this group selected and say modify ungroup. Now I'm back to having these three separate groups that are no longer grouped together. And if I want to get even more crazy, I could go select that group, modify, ungroup it, take this, modify, ungroup that, and now I'm back to cutout mode where these are no longer grouped, so that whatever I do will automatically let me edit this to my heart's content. So you can group, you can nest groups within groups within groups within groups, and you can ungroup things and use that to help you get a little bit more control over what you're doing. And we're going to move next into using symbols. I'll show you one more thing actually in the next video about this object mode deal. All right.